And welcome to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about efforts at the state capitol to address the issues of juvenile crime and punishment. My guest this segment is Leland Yee, member of the State Senate from San Francisco and San Mateo counties. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me again.
I know one of your bills just now introduced is called the Joseph Hall legislation. Tell us about that, because that's an interesting, very interesting story.
Well, this is a young man who was incarcerated, committed a crime, incarcerated, and went to trial in Southern California. Because of the background that he was suffering under, his father was rather abusive, harshly abusive. He did in fact kill his father, but when the sentence happened, many individuals did not think that the judge appropriately took into consideration the child-rearing history that he was under, the aggressive abusive behavior that he was under. And as a result, what my bill does is to say that when a judge is in fact sentencing a young individual, that you have to kind of take into consideration those antecedent conditions that brought him to his court.
Right now, judges, though, do have the discretion to take that into consideration.
That is absolutely right. What we're saying is that, Judge, it's not discretionary. You have to take that into consideration. Because one of the things that we are realizing is that we've got to somehow find ways to rehabilitate our children. We don't have enough room. Look, the governor's right now is letting prisoners out into their own custody or into county jails and so on. So we don't have enough prison to put everybody in prison. So we've got to look at alternatives. And I think that in this Joseph Hall case, it's a ripe example of where we need to take into consideration the background of these youngsters to hopefully find rehabilitative strategies so that eventually these young individuals get out of prison.
I guess along the same lines of rehabilitation, to some degree, is another piece of legislation that you have, which would restrict the ability of the authorities, the prison system, to put juveniles in solitary confinement.
Right. There's been studies upon studies that talk about the fact that solitary confinement really hurts kids. It doesn't help kids whatsoever. So youngsters right now in prison are subject to solitary confinement. The United Nations has already said that any government that is using solitary confinement on children, that's tantamount to torture, and that they ought to cease and desist and not do that anymore. And so what our bill does is to not simply say, no, you can't use solitary confinement, although I would like to do that, but rather let's set some conditions upon which solitary confinement can be used. So it's not a blank strategy for anyone to deal with kids.
What about the argument that goes, look, local prison authorities know the inmates certainly better than a bunch of legislators in the ivory tower of Sacramento, and that they best know how to handle this situation, well, instead of getting some interference from you?
My only response to that is that if, because of the strategies that you're using, solitary confinement, you make the kid worse and you create even more problems, eventually you're going to come to the state of California and say, we've got even more problems with our inmates, with our prisoners, and we need more money. So all I'm saying is that look at how you're dealing with young individuals and do it smartly.
All right. Senator Leland Yee, thank you very much for coming by talking about these important issues. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me again.
And thanks to our viewers for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. A reminder, you can see this and other interviews on YouTube, also on My Government On Demand. Have a great day.